The story opens in the gunnery cathedral of the Vorthan Dreadnought Edict of Solar Light, where Grand Marshal Vethari Kal stands before a viewport so wide it swallows constellations. Below him hangs Nova Prime, a blue-green world humanity had terraformed in only 40 years, a feat that the Empire's scholars had quietly flagged as anomalous and then quietly forgotten. Vethari does not care about anomalies, he cares about precedent. The humans had refused a tribute demand, small, symbolic, almost insulting in its modesty, and refusal cannot be allowed to echo. He gives the order with the same tone his ancestors used when calling for wine. The novelist's eye lingers on the small things that make atrocity legible. A human child's drawing pinned to a fridge in a coastal town, the shadow of a pelican over a cooling reactor, an automated traffic light cycling green over an empty road. The Empire's orbital lances do not bother with cities one at a time. They lattice the entire crust in a grid pattern, a decorative cruelty, then ignite the atmosphere. In 4 minutes, 2,800,000 human beings cease to exist. The fleet's xenoethics officer marks the action, regrettable but proportionate. The fleet chaplain offers a prayer for the soldiers' calluses. Then comes the part the Empire will replay later, frame by frame, looking for the warning they missed. The human defense flotilla above Novara, 7 destroyers, 2 cruisers, and obsolete carrier does not flee, nor does it charge. It performs a maneuver Vorthan tacticians later call the listening. The ships hold position, weapons cold, and simply watch. Their sensor masts swivel in unison, drinking in the Empire fleet, every emission signature, every command channel handshake, every microtremor of a reactor working slightly outside spec. For 11 full minutes, 1,200 Vorthan warships pour fire into 9 human vessels that never raise a shield. The humans die in silence, their hulls glowing white, then black, then gone. Not one distress signal, not one curse, not one prayer. The Vorthan communications officer, a young thrall named Eshliu whose perspective the chapter slips into, finds this strange enough to record privately. She has heard species beg in 83 languages. Humans apparently do not beg, they catalog. Vethari notices nothing. He is composing his victory missive to the throne world. He writes, "The human question is settled. They mourn loudly but briefly. We may expect a tributary delegation within the standard cycle." He signs it with the flourish his father taught him. He orders the fleet to hold orbit for 3 days, a courtesy, he tells his staff, to allow any survivors on the ground to expire without further bombardment. He believes himself merciful. On the 3rd day, a single object detaches from the rubble field where Novara's outermost moon used to be. It is roughly the size of a coffin, matte black, and emits no signal of any kind. The Vorthan picket ship that intercepts it reports an inert artifact, possibly debris. It is winched aboard for analysis and then, per protocol for unidentified human hardware, forwarded to Imperial intelligence on the throne world via priority courier. No one inspects it closely. No one will for 41 days. By the time someone does, the device will already have done what it was sent to do. The chapter closes on Eshliu, off shift, sitting alone in an observation blister, watching the slag where Novara used to be. She thinks, and the narrator lets us hear it, why do they not weep? She does not know yet that humans, when they have decided something, do not weep until afterward. She does not know yet that there will be no afterward for the people she serves. She only knows that the silence on the human channels feels less like grief and more like a held breath. She is correct. Earth in the immediate aftermath does exactly nothing, and the quality of that nothing is what unsettles the galaxy. The chapter opens in the Galactic Concordance Chamber on Hellion Reach, where the human delegate, Ambassador Yana Rurk, is expected to give the customary bereavement address. Every species who has lost a colony has given one. The Sithari wept blue ichor. The Emraven sang for 16 hours. The Tellurian Republic resigned its seat in protest. There is a script, and the script is part of how the galaxy manages atrocity. It converts grief into spectacle, spectacle into resolutions, resolutions into nothing. Rurk arrives in a black suit. She walks to the podium. She says, "We have nothing to add at this time," and steps down. The chamber waits for the rest. There is no rest. She leaves the building. By the time the recording reaches the Vorthan ambassador, who watches it twice and laughs, Rurk is already on a transport home, and her replacement has not been named. The narrative widens. On Earth, the population is told the truth in a single global broadcast lasting 4 minutes. There are no riots. There are no candlelight vigils on the scale anyone expected. People go to work. The markets do not crash, they flatten, holding eerily steady, as if every trader were waiting for a starting pistol they alone could hear. A journalist on Lagos asks a passerby what she feels. The woman, a baker, considers the question seriously and says, "I am not yet allowed to feel it." The journalist asks who is not allowing her. The woman smiles a small, terrible smile and walks on. The chapter cuts between three vantage points across the 91 days, and the cumulative effect is one of mounting, low-frequency dread. First, an Empire intelligence analyst named Korvath, assigned to monitor human civilian channels. Week 1, traffic is normal. Week 2, certain industrial supply chains begin to behave oddly. Rare Earth shipments rerouting to destinations Korvath cannot find on any map. Week 4, an entire fleet of civilian asteroid haulers goes quiet, not destroyed, simply off-grid. Week 6, 3 of humanity's 11 major shipyards stop publishing production schedules. Week 7, the schedules resume, and the listed outputs are technically plausible but somehow wrong, as if a child had drawn a perfect copy of an adult's signature. Korvath flags the pattern. His superior tells him humans grieve eccentrically and to file it under cultural notes. Second, a Emraven xenoecologist named Soth, who has spent decades studying humans and who on day 31 goes to the Concordant Security Council uninvited and tries to warn them. She brings charts, she brings recordings, she brings a single sentence she has highlighted in red from a 200-year-old human historical document. "We do not start wars, we finish them." The council thanks her for her concern. The Vorthan observer on the council, present as a courtesy, has her flagged for surveillance. She disappears on day 38. The narrator does not say where. The narrator only notes that the apartment she vanished from was not searched by anyone official, and that when a human cleaning crew arrived 2 days later, they took her notes with them. They did not pretend to be cleaners. They simply walked in, retrieved the notes, and left. The neighbors said nothing. Third, Eshliu, the young Vorthan comms officer from Part 1, now reassigned to the throne world. She cannot stop thinking about Novara. She begins in her off hours to study human languages, and indulgence her caste discourages. She finds in an ancient Earth text translated badly into Imperial Standard the phrase cold equation. She does not yet understand it. She will. The chapter ends on day 91. Across the Vorthan Empire at exactly the same instant, measured to the picosecond, every Imperial Ansible network goes briefly, gently dark, 43 seconds, then it returns. Diagnostics find nothing. The throne world assumes a solar event. It was not a solar event, it was a handshake. Humanity, at long last, has answered the door. The galaxy, however, is still listening for a knock. Imperial intelligence finally cracks the matte black coffin from Novara on day 92. The chapter opens in a vault beneath the throne world where Senior Inquisitor Drath, a four-armed cryptologist with a reputation for breaking species rather than codes, has spent 6 weeks failing to make the device do anything. It does not respond to scans. It does not respond to heat, cold, vacuum, pressure, or 3 carefully escalated forms of psionic interrogation. On day 92 at 04:11 Imperial Standard, the device opens itself. No one touched it. It simply unfolds like a flower that has decided the season is right. Inside is a recording, not a weapon, not a tracker, not a virus, just a recording in flawless Imperial High Court dialect voiced by a woman whose tone Drath will later describe as the voice of a physician explaining that the limb cannot be saved. The recording is 46 seconds long. It says, in essence, we have your fleet positions, we have your Ansible keys, we have the names of your noble lines down to the 7th cousin, we have your reactor tolerances. We have, for 91 days now, had everything. The next message will not be a message. The recording ends, the device closes. Drath does not move for 11 minutes. When he finally calls the throne world, his hands, all 4 of them, are shaking. The narrative then pulls back to show what humanity actually did during those 91 days, and the structure of the chapter is deliberately disorienting. Vignettes presented out of order, places the reader has not yet seen, names that mean nothing yet but will. A lunar facility in Marimbrium where 140 engineers have not slept properly in 2 months and do not seem to mind. A research station in the Kuiper Belt where a woman named Dr. Halara Konkwo is teaching an artificial intelligence the concept of enough, a concept the AI keeps refusing to accept. A flotilla of civilian mining ships in the Trojan asteroids that have, between them, the combined sensor mass of a Vorthan battle group and the political invisibility of a fishing fleet. A monastery in the Andes where retired intelligence officers are rereading every Vorthan diplomatic communique of the past 2 centuries and laughing, sometimes the way one laughs at a child's poorly hidden lie. The chapter's emotional core is a scene aboard a vessel humans call the Coroner. It is not a warship. It is a forensic ship. Its mission, according to its mission statement, a document the narrator quotes without comment, is to determine cause of death. It carries no weapons of its own. What it carries instead is a manifest of every Vorthan capital ship's individual emission signature, painstakingly assembled from passive scans humans have been running, quietly and constantly, since first contact 107 years ago. The manifest is not new. The humans have been keeping it, the way some species keep genealogies, against a day they hoped would not come. The captain of the coroner, a soft-spoken woman named Itzel Vargas, is shown in her quarters on day 88 writing a letter to her daughter. The letter is for after. She does not specify after what. She writes that she loves her, that she is sorry, that she hopes her daughter will live in a galaxy where this is not necessary again. She seals the letter. She does not cry. She has not cried, the narrator notes, since Novara. None of them have. The crying, like the speaking, has been postponed. Back on the throne world, Drath delivers the recording's contents to the Imperial Council. Grand Marshal Vethari, the architect of Novara, is present. He laughs. He calls it a bluff. He points out that humans have no fleet capable of meeting his. He is technically correct. Humans, the chapter's final paragraph explains, have not built a fleet. Fleets are what species build when they intend to fight wars. Humans, having decided that this will not be a war, have built something else. The chapter does not say what. It only says that on day 92, somewhere in the dark between two unremarkable stars, the something else turns on its lights. The Vorthan border world of Kesar 9 is, by any measure, an unremarkable place. A tariff station, a shipyard, a garrison, 3 million subjects of mixed species, and the kind of provincial governor who has framed his commission 3 times in 3 different offices. It is the first place humanity chooses to be seen. The chapter opens at 0614 local time. The morning shift at the orbital traffic control station. A Sithari named Velme, the kind of conscientious mid-level functionary every empire runs on, notices a contact on her display that she cannot account for. It is not flagged as hostile. It is not flagged at all. It is simply there in a parking orbit 300 kilometers from the station, and her sensors insist it has been there for the past 6 hours. She knows this is impossible. She also knows, looking at it, that it is true. The ship is long, dark, and built on principles her instruments do not have categories for. It does not radiate heat. It does not radiate anything. It is a hole in the morning shaped like a knife. Velme does the thing her training tells her to do, which is hail it. The ship answers immediately in her own language, with her own name and rank and the names of her 2 children, whom she has never registered with the imperial census. The voice is gentle. It says, "Velme of the Sithari, please evacuate Kesar 9 station within the next 40 minutes. You and your children are not the subject of what follows. Please confirm receipt." She confirms. She evacuates. So, due to their credit, the other 31,000 civilian and contracted workers aboard the station, every one of whom receives an individually addressed message in their own native tongue, naming their loved ones, asking them politely to leave. The narrator pauses on this detail. The humans, it notes, did the homework. They did the homework for everyone. What they do not ask to leave is the Vorthan garrison. At 0654, with the civilians clear, the human ship, still unnamed, still silent on every imperial channel, broadcasts on every channel at once. It does not declare war. It does not list grievances. It plays in full the 11-minute sensor recording of the Novara defense flotilla being annihilated, the one Eshliu first watched in horror 3 months ago. It plays it with no commentary. When the recording ends, the broadcast continues for 10 more seconds of silence, and then a single sentence in Imperial High Court dialect, voiced by the same physician's voice from the coffin. This is the receipt. Then the shipyard at Kesar 9 ceases to exist. The narrator describes the event with deliberate precision and no drama, because the event itself has no drama. It has the quality of a surgeon's incision. There is no flash. There is no shockwave that propagates through space the way Imperial weapons do. The shipyard, 11 kilometers of military hardware and 31 Imperial warships in dock, simply unhappens. One frame it is there. The next frame it is a fine cloud of constituent atoms drifting. The garrison facility on the planet's surface, evacuated of its civilian staff 30 minutes earlier by humans who somehow had every duty roster, undergoes the same fate at the same instant. 28,000 Vorthan soldiers cease. The provincial governor, who has not been evacuated, broadcasts a panicked surrender from his palace. The human ship does not answer him. He is, the narrator notes, not the subject of what follows either. He will live. He will live a long time. He will have many years in which to think about what he has just seen. Across the galaxy, every species' intelligence services receive, simultaneously, a copy of the Kessar 9 sensor recording, accompanied by a list. The list contains every Vorthan military installation, fleet base, weapons depot, and warship currently in service, organized by strategic priority. The list is correct. The list includes facilities the Vorthan Council itself does not officially admit exist. The chapter closes on Eshliu watching the recording on her personal terminal in her quarters on the throne world. She has been promoted. She has been given access to information she did not previously have. She watches the shipyard unhappen 3 times in a row, and finally, at last, after 3 months, she weeps. Not for her empire, for the species that thought it was an empire, and for what it taught the humans about being patient. The humans give themselves a name on day 94, and the name is not for the galaxy's benefit, it is for the bookkeeping. The chapter opens with a leaked internal memorandum, addressed to all units of what the Vorthan press will, within a week, learn to call the Reckoning. The memorandum is brief. It defines targets, exclusions, and protocols. Targets: military assets of the Vorthan Empire, defined by a list appended. Exclusions: civilian populations, hospitals, schools, agricultural infrastructure, places of worship, and a clause the narrator quotes verbatim. Any vessel or installation in which a child below the age of legal majority of their species is present, regardless of strategic value. Protocols: minimum sufficient force, maximum sufficient warning, no acceptance of surrender from above the rank of regimental commander. The last clause is the one the galaxy will argue about for centuries. The humans, the memo notes, are not here to negotiate, they are here to finish. Over the next 23 days, the Reckoning conducts 91 operations across Vorthan space. The narrator does not describe all of them. The narrator cannot, and the cumulative effect of the chapter is meant to convey precisely that: a steady, inexorable, almost agricultural pace of dismantling, a harvest. Fleet bases at Tor Meron, at Aldenak, at the Three Sisters Yard. The Black Site research facility on Ushtal, where, the humans note in a public broadcast accompanying its destruction, sentient species had been used as test subjects for the past 400 years. The orbital fortress at the Imperial Throne World's outermost Lagrange point, which had been considered impregnable for 9,000 years, and which falls in 11 minutes. Pattern: when intelligence services across the galaxy assemble it, is what truly terrifies them. The humans never bring more force than they need, they never bring less. They always know exactly what is in a facility before they engage it: personnel, equipment, evacuation routes, the names of the children whose parents work there. The level of intelligence required is not just impossible, it is retroactive. The humans clearly knew all of this before Novara. They have been compiling this for decades. Possibly centuries. The Emerven xenoecologist Soth's vanished notes, leaked anonymously to 3 independent press services in week 2 of the Reckoning, contain a chilling line: humans build cathedrals before they know the religion. They build the file before they know whether they will need it. They have, I believe, a file on each of us. The chapter's emotional center is a scene the humans broadcast publicly on day 101. It is a single human soldier, a sergeant named Wei Chen, standing in the rubble of the fleet base at Aldenak. He is not in a posed shot. He is tired. He has not slept. He is holding a small plush toy he has retrieved from the wreckage of an officer's housing block that was evacuated per protocol before the strike. He looks at the camera. He says in unhurried Imperial standard, "We did not want this. We do not enjoy this. We will not stop." Then he puts the toy down gently on a piece of rebar and walks out of frame. The clip is 14 seconds long. It is replayed across every species networks for weeks. 3 Vorthan border worlds renounce Imperial citizenship after watching it. The Empire's propaganda ministry is unable to formulate a countermessage, because the clip's message is not a message, it is a posture, and posture cannot be argued with. Grand Marshal Vethari, the architect of Novara, is hunted across 4 star systems. The humans do not kill him. They take him alive on day 104 from his personal flagship, which they have boarded without firing a shot. They cut the reactor at exactly the moment its safety's tripped, then walk in. He is brought before no court. He is delivered instead to the Concordance Chamber on Hellion Reach in chains in his full dress uniform and left there. No statement accompanies his delivery. The galaxy's councils must decide what to do with him themselves. They do not, for a long time, know how. He sits in the chamber for 9 days before anyone moves him. The chapter ends on Eshliu, who has by now defected. She is debriefed gently by a human intelligence officer who knows her grandmother's name, her favorite childhood food, the shape of the birthmark on her shoulder. She asks the officer how long they have been watching her. The officer answers kindly, "Since you noticed, Eshliu." since you were the first one of yours who noticed. By day 110, the Vorthan Empire as a fighting power no longer exists. Its civilian government still nominally functions, its homeworld is intact, its emperor still sits on a throne in a palace that has not been touched, but it has no fleet, it has no garrisons, it has no shipyards. The humans have not killed it. They have, with the precision of someone disarming a child, removed the knife from its hand. The chapter shifts away from Earth and Vorthan space entirely. It belongs to the rest of the galaxy now. The 73 other spacefaring civilizations of the Concordance, the dozen non-aligned powers, the 4 ancient species who have watched young empires rise and fall for 100,000 years, and who now, for the first time in the memory of any of them, are afraid. The chapter opens in the Council of the Eldest, an informal body of the 4 ancient species, the Emerven, the Cthari, the Tellurian Republic, and the deeply strange entity known only as the Listener, that has not formally convened in 8,000 years. It convenes now. The narrator gives each delegate a vignette, and each vignette is a study in a different shade of dread. The Emerven delegate, an elder named Thrensoth, brings the late xenoecologist Soth's recovered notes. She reads from them in silence and with dignity. The notes describe in detail every Emerven military installation, every member of the Emerven High Command, every classified fleet movement of the past 40 years. The humans had a file. They have always had a file. The Emerven file is not, the notes specify, a targeting file. It is a contingency file. The note's final entry, dated 3 days before Soth's disappearance, reads, "The humans do not wish to use this. They have built it because they have learned, through a history we do not yet understand, that not building it is worse." The Cthari delegate weeps. The Tellurian delegate, a being made of cooperating microbial colonies, reorganizes itself in a pattern its species uses for grief. The listener says nothing, which is, for the listener, a form of speech. The chapter notes this. The council reaches 3 conclusions, and the narrator presents them as the moment the galaxy's understanding of itself changes forever. First, the humans are not a threat to anyone who is not a threat to them. The evidence is overwhelming. They had every species file. They used only one. Second, the humans are also not a thing the galaxy can afford to treat as it has previously treated young species. The old etiquette, the polite condescension, the tariff games, the casual atrocities at the periphery, the assumption that the new ones will mature into the system, is over. The humans have not refused to mature into the system. They have outgrown it before the system noticed, and they have, with surgical kindness, demonstrated this. Third, and this is the conclusion that breaks the council, that sends the Emerven delegate to her quarters to fast for 9 days, that causes the Tellurian delegate to issue a formal apology to its own ancestors. The human's restraint is not weakness, and it is not even mercy. It is policy. Somewhere on Earth, a long time ago, in a history none of the older species have studied closely enough, humans learned the cost of unrestrained violence. They learned it on themselves. They learned it in a way the older species, who have always exported their violence outward, have never learned. And they decided as a species never to forget. The reckoning is not the humans being vengeful. The reckoning is the humans being careful. If they had been vengeful, the Vorthan throne world would already be slag. The fact that it is not is the most terrifying datum of all. The chapter ends with the 4 delegates drafting a single document which they transmit privately to Earth. It is 1 sentence long. It reads, "We see you. We understand. We will do better." The human reply is also 1 sentence. It reads, "Then we will too." The exchange is never made public. Both sides keep it. Both sides, the narrator notes, will keep it for a very long time. The final chapter opens on the Vorthan throne world. On a morning the planet's almanac will later mark as the first day of a new calendar. The human fleet has been in orbit for 6 days. It has done nothing. It has issued no demands. It has not communicated with the Imperial Palace, with the Council, or with the Planetary Defense Network, which in any case no longer exists. The fleet is simply present, the way a verdict is present in a courtroom before the judge speaks it. The Emperor of the Vorthan, an old man named Rithari Kal Ix, uncle to the Grand Marshal who ordered Novara, has not slept in those 6 days. He has, the narrator observes, been waiting for a knock on the door. The humans, who do not knock, are letting him understand what waiting feels like. On the 7th morning, a single human shuttle descends. It carries no troops. It carries Captain Itzel Vargas of the coroner, 3 aides, and a small wooden box. They walk through a palace that has been emptied of its servants, its guards, its courtiers, all of whom have, in the past week, quietly resigned, fled, or in some cases simply gone home to their families. The emperor receives them in his throne room, which is too large for the number of people now in it. He is alone on the throne. There is no one left to stand beside him. Vargas does not bow, she does not salute. She approaches to a respectful distance and stops. She opens the wooden box. Inside it are the personal effects of the human defense flotilla destroyed at Novara, 9 sets of identification tags, 1 folded child's drawing recovered from a destroyer captain's quarters, a wedding ring, a small carved bird. She lays them on the floor between herself and the throne, one by one, nomming each owner. The nomming takes 11 minutes. She does not raise her voice. The Emperor does not interrupt. When she finishes, she looks up at him, and the narrator observes that her face holds no anger. It holds something the Emperor has never seen on the face of a defeated species before: patience. Patience as a finished thing. She says, "We are not here to take your throne. We are not here to take your world. We are not here to take anything from you that you did not already give us when you decided we were not people. We are here so that you understand. Look at us. Look at what we became because of what you did. We will leave now. You will live. Your children will live. Your worlds will live. But you will live in a galaxy that has seen this and that knows now what we are and what you mistook us for. You will live the rest of your life in that galaxy. That is the verdict." She closes the box. She leaves it on the floor. She turns with her aides and walks out. The Emperor does not move. He does not move for a long time. The chapter and the story closes with 3 short codas woven together. The first, Eshliu, the former Vorthan comms officer on Earth, 2 years later teaching a class of human and alien children the linguistics of how species speak to one another. She is showing them the recording from Novara. She is teaching them to listen. One of the children, a Sithari girl, asks her why the humans waited 91 days. Eshliu thinks about it for a long time. She says, because they wanted to be sure of themselves, not of us. The second, a small ceremony on the rebuilt surface of Novara Prime, 50 years on. A child plants a tree. The tree is unremarkable. The ceremony is unremarkable. The narrator notes only that the galaxy, including delegations from every species that once held seats in the concordance, has sent representatives. The Vorthan delegation is there too. They are received politely. They are not embraced and they are not turned away. They are simply there, the way one is there at a thing one has not earned, but has been permitted to witness. The third and last, a line from a human history textbook 200 years later in a chapter on the reckoning. The line is not dramatic. It is the kind of line a teacher writes on a board for students to copy down. It reads, "We did not do it because we were terrible. We did it because we knew we could be and chose that one time to be exactly as terrible as was needed and not one shred more. That choice is the inheritance. Do not lose it." The galaxy, the narrator notes in the final sentence, has not lost it yet.